Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, councillors. Please be seated as I invite my chaplain, Father Paul Robinson, to join us in a moment of reflection.
Hello, everybody. You okay? Last Sunday in church, we heard a story that many of us may know well. We heard the story of the parable of the Good Samaritan. Being a Good Samaritan is something that is in our folklore, isn't it? Maybe we've said it about others, or dare I say it, even said about ourselves, if you've done someone a good turn. And if you're not sure of the context of this story, it's about a man who's attacked and he's left for dead. And two religious leaders, people you'd expect to help, walk by. But it's the Samaritan. Someone seen as an outsider, someone who doesn't belong, who stops and helps and heals, and he goes the extra mile. And at the end of the story, Jesus tells his audience just to go and do likewise. Go and do likewise. And that's a pretty powerful message. Well, let's be honest for a minute. If you saw someone hurting, really hurting, would we stop? We hope that the answer is yes. But what if they look different from us? What if they believe something we didn't? What if we felt that they were somehow to blame? What if we felt that somehow they deserved it? You see, the Samaritan in the Good Samaritan story wasn't just a good person. Jesus uses a Samaritan to challenge his hearers to see something different. You see, Jesus' audience thought the Samaritan was the wrong person. They thought he was the wrong person to be the hero, someone who his audience wouldn't like to be the hero. Imagine that. Imagine someone who hates you comes to assist you. Yet the Samaritan is the one who shows mercy, the one who does what's right. And that's what makes the story of the Good Samaritan uncomfortable and yet important, because it shows real compassion. It isn't just about helping people we like. It's about crossing the road towards the person we'd rather walk past. So let's ask ourselves, who are we avoiding? Who would we not cross the road for? Would you stop for the person struggling with addiction, the asylum seeker, the refugee, the neighbour you've fallen out with, the person who holds different values than you, the person beaten up for being gay? These are hard questions, but essential ones. Because whether you're religious or not, the story reminds us of something deeply human, that love, real love, asks more of us. The beauty of the story of this parable, this story with a meaning, whether we are religious or not, is that it meets us wherever we are. And it challenges us to be more than we can be, to go that extra mile. So let us pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing upon this council as they meet this night. We pray that they may be prepared to go the extra mile for the people who elected them, the people who they serve. We pray that each of them may be good Samaritans to those in their communities and to those whom they meet day by day. We pray that we may meet that challenge, that we may be the best we can be, that we can give more and do good in our communities. And this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your meeting. I'm off to my tea. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So welcome to this meeting of the council. Before we start this evening, members may have been saddened to hear of the passing of former councillor Peter Stener. For those who are able, we will now stand for a minute's silence. Thank you. Would any members like to say a few words? Councillor Walton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Once again, it's with great sadness that we heard of the passing of one of our colleagues who served this council well for many years. I didn't personally know Peter very well, so I've asked Councillor Smith to speak on his behalf. But as ever, all our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family and his friends at this sad time.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't suppose there are many people around this chamber that actually do remember Peter. He served for 20 years up to 2015. Peter was a very loyal man, particularly in our group. He was always laughing, very jovial sort of person. His nickname amongst our group was the Eggman, because he had a very large amount of sheds where hens produced eggs at regular intervals, and he was always had loads of eggs to offer. If there was anything going on, any cake baking, any event, the eggs always appeared. So he became known as the Eggman. But Peter was a very loyal person, as I say, very happy, always had a smile. He was a member of the planning committee for most of the time. I think he was on this committee and thoroughly enjoyed it. It was one of his real pet things that he enjoyed when he came to council. But he also served on other things, the Old Recreation and Amenities Committee, the Housing Committee, which I'm sure the majority of you won't even remember that we once had a housing committee. But he served on that as well. He was actually a chairman of the Western Parishes Neighbourhood Committee as well for a period of time. Peter served Longton most of the time that he was on the council, but did latterly, towards the end of his time on council, serve the area that he represented was Hoole, where he lived, and he represented that for a number of years. I'm sure Peter would feel that the Hoole area is in good hands with our youngest councillor, Councillor Connor, who I'd just like you to know, tomorrow is his 21st birthday. So I'm sure Peter would think it was in very good hands with Connor there. So all I can say is to his family, we do offer our deepest condolences, and may he rest in peace. He was a good egg, was Peter. Thank you.
Come on.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Matthew Tomlinson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I suppose it's part of life's rich tapestry that while we're commemorating the death of an older councillor, we're also celebrating a very special birthday for a young one. I'm one of the dwindling numbers of members who did serve with Peter, and I honestly say it was always a pleasure to be with him. I think he was probably an old-fashioned Tory with a small T, but he wore his politics very lightly. It was whether you were with him at a mayoral function or whether you were sat with him in a committee or if you just bumped into him in the corridor. He was, as Councillor Mrs. Smith said, I think by nature quite a jovial chap. He always had a smile on his face. You could tell he worked outside because he always had a fantastic tan. He always looked very, very healthy indeed. And he was one of those councillors for whom it was just easy to work with. You never got the sense with Peter that he was here to prove a point to anybody, or he never got involved, to my memory, that much in the big P politics stuff. But he was one of those councillors that many, many district councillors like ours rely on to do the hard yards, to do them quietly, to do them diligently, but to do them well. And on behalf of my group, I would like to send the Conservative group and Peter's family and friends our condolences at this sad time.
Thank you. Councillor David Howarth, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's not really much more to add to what's been said, but Peter Stener is a name that you always associated with the Western Parishes, and the fact that 10 years has gone by since he was last on the council really does show how time flies. There are members of our group who do remember him, did serve with him. And I'm one of those people who actually sat on some of those committees that Councillor Smith referred to, which makes me feel very old indeed. So our condolences likewise go out to Peter Stetner's family, to his friends and to his colleagues.
Thank you. Councillor Phil Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I'd just add a bit to Peter's joviality. I obviously knew him quite well. Outside of this council, he was a real supporter of the Rotarian groups in Leyland and a very good worker for their charities. And his joke among the Eggman, and we called him the Eggman, and when he donated for something, so I'll bring you 100 eggs. Well, that's great, Peter. What Peter meant was 100 trays. That was his funny bit. His car was packed up with like 100 trays of eggs. We were quite busy boiling all those and making egg sandwiches for quite a long time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, I'll now start with some domestic arrangements for the meeting. Due to the regulations surrounding voting, only those members physically present are able to vote. Mobile devices, please ensure that all electronic equipment is either on silent mode or switched off. There are no planned fire alarms this evening, so if it does sound, please leave via the emergency exits. The meeting is being live streamed during open session for members of the public to watch. And if you would like to speak, please press your microphone to let me know. When I invite you to speak, your microphone will turn red. Please do not obstruct your mouth to ensure that anyone lip reading can do so. And if anyone is having any issues, please do speak to Democratic Services. Some points on procedure for members. So members asking a question have a maximum of 3 minutes and may ask one supplementary question directly related to the original question for not more than 2 minutes. A member who has spoken once on a motion may not speak again while it is being debated, except in specific circumstances. Individual members of the public will be restricted to speaking for a total of 5 minutes during the whole meeting. Finally, can I please remind members of the Nolan principles appended to the agenda front sheet and ask that we all treat each other with respect and courtesy during the meeting. Before we move on to the items of business, we have no less than 3 awards to celebrate as a council. The Royal Town Planning Institute North West Award for Excellence in Planning for Communities. This was awarded for the Jubilee Gardens project, and the authority now proceeds to the National Awards in London. The council were also successful in reaching the final in 2 categories of the National MJ Awards: Innovation in Reducing Health Inequalities for our place-based intelligence platform, and Transforming Lives for our social prescribing model. On behalf of the council, may I first congratulate all those involved, all those officers involved on their achievement and for the work that has gone into these projects. Thank you so much on behalf of our communities. Would the leader like to say a few words?
Mr. Mayor, I'd be delighted to. I think it's a very British thing to not want to blow your own trumpet, as I think the phrase is. And we're very quick by our nature to point to things that are not going well, and then to just accept that if we get congratulated on something, we probably shouldn't say too much about it, because that's not the British, well, certainly not the English way. But I think, it's right that we celebrate these awards, and we don't celebrate them for us. We celebrate them for the staff who've delivered it. I know the social prescribing team in particular are probably getting fed up of us saying how great we think they are, but we'll continue to say it, and we'll continue to say it loudly and proudly. Next door, I think the comments I get from the people of Leyland who drive past, who comment on what a fantastic looking building it is, no matter how you support or not what it's going to be used for, we get complaints. And the new place-based information gathering service, which can really help transform how we direct our services. These are really important things, and I'm delighted to be able to add my comments to your kind words. And it's right that we invite the staff here to celebrate along with us. While I am on my feet, we do have something else, and we'll have to invite some more staff to the next meeting, because just today we discovered that not only have our 4 green flag parks kept the green flags, but that Farrington Park has been added to our portfolio of green flag award-winning parks. I know it's something you've been passionate about as the local councillor for a while, and you approached me when it's in my portfolio some months ago. So that is really, really good news too. And we'll look forward to celebrating that at our next meeting. But thank you to everybody for all the work you do. It's really appreciated. And you know what? You're really affecting the lives of our residents, and that's what's most important. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Once again, thank you to the employees and the officers who've turned up this evening. Thank you for all you do. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to item number 1, apologies for absence. Are there any apologies?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, apologies have been received from Councillors Hindle, Taylor, Jackson and Rainsbury.
Thank you. Item number 2, declarations of interest. Members are reminded of their responsibility to declare any pecuniary interest in respect of matters contained in this agenda. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Howarth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Given that I'm the surviving member of the County Council, I will declare that I am a member of the County Council, given that we're discussing reorganisation of local government later, or non-pecuniary interest.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, the minutes of a meeting of the Council held on Wednesday, the 14th of May 2025. This item is for decision. Can I please ask the Leader of the Council, Councillor Matthew Tomlinson, to propose that the minutes be approved?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to move those without comment.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. Are there any questions on points of accuracy? Okay, can we move to the vote, please? Thank you. That clearly has been carried. Moving on to item number 4, minutes of the council meeting held on the 21st of May 2025. This item is for decision. There is one amendment to this, and that is that Councillor Alty was missed off the minutes. Can I please ask that the Leader of the Council, Councillor Matthew Tomlinson, to propose the minutes as amended be approved?
Again, I'm happy to move those without further comment, Mr. Mayor.
As giving apologies and being here, but I'd actually passed on my apologies, but I've only just mentioned it to the officers, so my apologies.
Can that be noted, please? Thank you. Is that seconded? Apologies. Councillor Ashton said she's been noted in both the apologies and also being present, but she actually did send her apologies, so that's got to be amended as well, Councillor Smith.
Seconded.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or points of accuracy? No? Okay, can we move to the vote, please? Thank you, that's clearly been carried. Item number 5, the Mayor's announcements. So it's just been 9 weeks now since I was given the honour of becoming the Mayor of South Ribble, and it has been a very busy start. I've had the privilege of attending over 50 events across the borough. I'm not going to list them all for you, but I've been from summer fairs to charity football matches, lots of flag raising ceremonies, the Leyland Festival and Lostock Hall Carnival. One of the real highlights of the year up to now was joining June and her family in Penwitham for her 100th birthday party, and that was really fantastic to see. I've also had the pleasure of attending a number of awards ceremonies, including several at Runshaw College, and it's really been great to see people achieving so much across our borough, and not just in their own education, but also what they give to the wider community. I was also delighted to help mark the 70th anniversary of Penwitham Girls High School, which is a significant milestone for them, and I'll be very much looking forward to cutting the first sod tomorrow as they move towards their new future with their new school being built. These events really, honestly, have really shown me just how diverse, vibrant and caring, and I'm sure anyone who has been a mayor will recognise and echo those comments that our borough really is such a diverse and vibrant place. And it's fantastic to see firsthand the work of so many volunteers, charities, schools and community groups, all of whom really play a vital role in bringing people together in our communities. I'd also like to give a special mention to the Deputy Mayor as well, who has very kindly stepped in for me on several occasions when I've not been able to attend and represented the borough so well. So thank you so much for that as well. We also recently held the Mayor's installation banquet here in the Civic Suite, and it was a lovely evening with over 80 people in attendance, and I'm thankful to everyone who came along to support, especially my fellow group councillors. Thank you. Looking ahead, I'm doing a skydive, a charity skydive to raise money for St Catherine's Hospice. Now, I know there's probably quite a few people in this chamber who would quite happily push me out of a plane at 11,000 feet and without a parachute if you had your way. But please be reassured, I will be taking one with me. That said, whether you are one of my biggest fans or somebody who is quietly cheering on gravity for that event, I'd still ask you to consider supporting the jump for St Catherine's. St Catherine's really is a charity that touches so many families within our community, and I would be very grateful on their behalf for any support you could possibly give. A Just Giving link has been circulated. Thank you all once again, and I very much look forward to continuing to meet even more of our residents in the months ahead. Moving on to item number 6, urgent decisions. This can be found on pages 15 to 18 of the report. This item is for noting. Can I please ask the Leader of the Council, Councillor Matthew Tomlinson, to present the report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members will know that we only take urgent decisions outside the council's calendar of meetings when there is no other option. And you'll see that since our last council meeting, there's been just one urgent decision, and that was taken around the Household Support Fund offered to us by Lancashire County Council, where they needed a decision which simply didn't fit into our timetable. It's itemised in the report. It's there for note. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any members of the council? No. Are there any questions from any members of the public? No, thank you. As this item is for noting, we do not need to take a vote. Moving on to item number 7. Cabinet report. This can be found on pages 19 to 22 and 67 to 68 of the report. This item is also for noting. Can I please ask the Leader of the Council, Councillor Matthew Tomlinson, to present the reports of Cabinet of the 4th of June and the 9th of July?
And thank you again, Mr. Mayor. The council meeting on the Cabinet meeting, I do beg your pardon, on the 4th of June considered the Q4 performance monitoring report, approved a tender for electoral services print contract, the youth engagement plan, responded to the excellent report of the inequalities scrutiny task group, looked at the capital and balance sheet outturn, as well as the revenue budget outturn, which again was a hugely positive result for the council and just builds on to our record of managing the finances of this organisation in the way that we do. And an update to the council's tree policy, which generated some interest. Then the meeting on the 16th of July, we were again able to celebrate. Sorry, that's today, isn't it? The 16th of July. The other meeting on the 9th, last Wednesday, they do roll into one sometimes, was a really almost celebratory, if I can use that word, cabinet meeting, where we celebrated the work of the social prescribing service via its annual report, and you've heard about the award that they were nominated for tonight. We looked at our community development action plans, our public sector equality duty, and an update on our health, active health annual report. Really positive reports that just highlighted some of the great work that goes on at this council from day to day. With that, that's then the end of my comments on both of those. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any members of the council on either of those cabinet reports? Okay. Are there any questions from any members of the public? Okay, so as this item is for noting, we do not need to take a vote. Moving on to item number 8, the Governance Committee. This can be found on pages 23 to 26. This item is also for noting. Can I please ask the Chair, Councillor Ian Watkinson, to present the report of the Governance Committee from the 27th of May?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the report from the 27th of May. The committee dealt with a range of reports, around 8 reports. I don't intend to go through and list all the information that's in your packs already, but I'll try and answer any questions if you've got them. There's another governance committee approaching next Tuesday, 22nd of July. And on the matter of the Constitution, which has come up and a number of questions have been asked about that will be dealt with in a standalone meeting in September. And with that, I'll close, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you. Are there any questions from any members of the council? No. Are there any questions from any members of the public? Okay, as this item is for noting, we do not need to take a vote. Moving on to item number 9, the Corporate Performance and Budget Scrutiny Committee. This can be found on pages 27 to 28. Again, this item is also for noting. Can I please ask the Chair, Councillor Pete Pillinger, to present the report?
Mr. Mayor, scrutiny is important in the working of a council that operates with a cabinet structure. The two scrutiny, I'm sorry, one of my colleagues put sweets out for us, and I've just put one in my mouth just before I came to stand up. So excuse me, I've got something in the back of my mouth. Both the scrutiny committees do a good job, and this report outlines what is needed to be outlined as part of the procedures of the committee. I don't think I need to say anything more. People can read the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Green. Are there any questions from any members of the council? No. Are there any questions from any members of the public? Thank you. As this item is for noting, we do not need to take a vote. Item number 10. It just seems like everything's for noting tonight. Item number 10, the Community and External Scrutiny Committee meeting, pages 27 to 28. Also, is that correct? Okay. This item is for noting. Can I please ask the Chair, Councillor Matt Campbell, to present the report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very happy to present the report, which was chaired by Councillor Pritchard in my absence. Thank you very much for that. I ask Council to note the report, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you. Are there any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Oh, apologies, Councillor Belinsky-Gelder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a Cabinet Member for Communities, I was wondering if the Chair would be able to give me an update on the minuted point 9, the committee which has been created, the task group to review child sexual exploitation in South Ribble, and when we might receive an update and what the outcomes might be. Also, which members from outside the committee have been involved in the task group so far, and when we may see some progress. That'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you for the question. So the committee was set up, the task group was set up at the last meeting. We've not yet set a meeting for the first task group to meet, but me and Darren will be meeting shortly to fix a date and set up the first meeting.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from any members of the council? No. Okay. Any questions from members of the public? Thank you. This item is for noting, and therefore we do not need to take a vote. Item number 11, the annual report of the Corporate Performance and Budget Scrutiny Committee. This item is for noting. Can I please ask the Chair, Councillor Pete Pillinger, to present the report?
Mayor, I no longer have a sweet in my mouth. Again, everything that needs is printed in the report, and I therefore present it to the council.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Again, Mayor, happy to doing so. Can I thank Councillor Pillinger for chairing that committee as well, and for all members for the part that they play, and officers and councillors who attend to give reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Green. I can see that we have a question from Councillor George Rea.
Thank you, Mayor. I noted in the report the establishment of a task group on resident engagement and democratic participation. Wondered if the chair of the group can assure me that you'll be working closely with electoral services to support the upcoming postal vote reapplication process that will be going on through the summer and the autumn.
Councillor Pillinger.
That we have started the work of the task group, looking at the interaction between the council and the public from the survey that was done on our interface with the council, which was what picked it up. We are moving shortly into looking at electoral matters, turnouts, that sort of thing, how we can improve participation in that process. So that will be part of the work of the council in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from any members of the council? Are there any questions from any members of the public? Okay, this item is for noting, and therefore we do not need to take a vote. Item number 12, the annual report of the Community and External Scrutiny Committee. This item is for noting. Can I please ask the Chair, Councillor Matt Campbell, to present the report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very happy to present the report for the Community and External Scrutiny Committee 2024-25. I'd like to thank all councillors that have served on the committee over the last 12 months. We've covered a number of subjects, including sewage and water pollution in South Ribble, Health Watch, the Community and Safety Partnership that focused on e-bikes and e-scooters in South Ribble. I'm pleased that the council has implemented 91% of the recommendations, and hopefully we can improve on that for 2025-26. I'd also like to highlight the work carried out by the Inequalities Cost Task Group, which was chaired by Councillor Pritchard. Lastly, I'd like to thank Darren Cranshaw, Ben Story, for the work on the report and for the hard work and support over the last 12 months. I ask council to note the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is that report seconded? Thank you. Are there any questions from any members of the council? Any questions from any members of the public? Thank you.
When you were looking at I was the only member of the public who was actually present. Looking forward to the coming year, do you have any particular plans to look at areas where there will or might be public interest, and in accordance with common sense, really, try and spread the word to the members of the public, and albeit in our almost lack of local newspapers, but nevertheless to spread the word and to become a true external scrutiny committee?
Thank you. Councillor Matt Campbell.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, we'll definitely consider that, and I'll speak with Democratic Services about how we can circulate that information to the public. We are going to be hopefully inviting the United Utilities Environment Agency and Ribble Rivers Trust again for this year, so hopefully you can attend that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public wishing to ask a question? No. Okay, as this item is for noting, we do not need to take a vote. Item number 13, local government reorganisation and devolution. This item is for decision. Can I please ask Councillor James Flannery to present the report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members. I stand before you this evening to present a paper on local government reorganisation. I've requested a PowerPoint presentation, which you will see, which has accompanied your papers tonight. Since taking up this role as lead member, I've set out and committed to meet with and understand as much as possible and to get a position statement for you all tonight. I met with the leaders of Preston, West Lancs, Blackburn, Lancashire County Council, the Chamber of Commerce. I've been involved with members from Burnley, leaders from Burnley, from Blackburn, from Preston, and members of the Combined Authority Business Board to seek their views in terms of what this is going to have as an impact from all councils, not just ours. I'd also like to say, if you don't mind, as councillors, because this is a council decision, I have offered to meet with every member of South Rutherglen Council, but that offer continues. That's still there. This work's got to continue up until we get to a position where we can put a proposal forward. So I'm going to make myself available. I know that the timetable's been tight, but I will be available for every councillor from every party. We just work with the officers who've been great in terms of supporting this. The presentation, as you see alongside this paper, it's just, I've abstracted some of the key bits really. Just very quickly, the first one is obviously the white paper, the reason why we've got to do it. The government have effectively invited us to submit proposals because effectively what you see and what exists now is not going to be here after the next year or whatever, 2 years when it happens or if it happens. The other slide very quickly give you the criteria, which I just thought would be useful for you in terms of the proposals, and they're based on basically size, population, economic and service delivery, and then obviously the options. The slide there was the map. The map's very useful for someone like me. I'm a visual learner, so when I see a map like that, it sort of makes a bit more sense to me. So that's why that's also there. And obviously then the preferred options there are in terms of questions of does it fit what we want. Now, whatever you think, whether you've got a view, we've all got different views on it. It's happening. This is happening. The government have asked us to do this piece of work. If it manifests into what we think it's going to be, that's an if. It may not, but right now we've been asked to do some work on it. And you'll see there that it boils down basically to a 3-unity or a 4-unity. There's a lot of work being going on before I was even lead member, and a single unity or 2 or 5 is now being effectively taken off the table. So what you're looking at, and everyone's accepting this, is a 3 or 4 unity. And as I've said to our group, and we've met and we've debated it and we've discussed it, there's some information still not there really, but if we don't make a decision on this, we are going to be left behind. So it's very important. And I do urge you all tonight, and I know probably that there's going to be a motion to change some of this. I understand, and I really, really do understand that it's not a perfect situation we're in. But what I would urge you to do is, based on the information which we've got, let's have a fair debate. It looks like it's a 3 or a 4 unitary. Not perfect. I'm the lead member. I don't think it's perfect. But we can have a discussion. We can come to some sort of compromise, some agreement. And then we as a council can make a decision. And the important thing about that decision is we go in with a group. Now, that's not fixed. If information then becomes available after, in terms of economic data, travel to work, in terms of some of the information which is probably slightly light at the moment, I will revisit it with you, and any information I have along that journey, I'm more than happy to share with you. So if something comes to my attention which says, listen, our decision of where we are now could change, I'll make myself available to share that and bring it to the leader of the council as well. So really, I don't want to sort of take too much of your time off. The paper's there for you to read. That's the presentation. And obviously what I would like to do just now is to open the floor up, take some questions. It's a 3 or a 4. And then after that, I would like us to go to a vote, please. Thank you.
Is that seconded?
I'm happy to second that, Mr. Mayor, and reserve the right to speak later.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any members of the council? Councillor Howarth.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the question is this questions or are we having a debate?
Both.
Well, in which case I will indicate to speak. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And first of all, can I thank Councillor Flannery for the presentation and the documentation and the offer to meet with us. Unfortunately, we seem to be crossing each other when we're both going on holiday, so as yet that's not happened. But this almost feels like Groundhog Day, as we've been debating unitary authorities now for well over 30 years. And I've dug out some old leaflets here from January 1994, which were circulated by some young lad called Tim Farron. And at the time, it was a local government review under the then Conservative government offering an option for a central Lancashire council, which was on the table. It then reared its head again under the Labour government with David Miliband as local government minister, again under proposals put forward by Jeff Driver's Conservative administration at County Hall, and once again, here we are under this Labour government. And down the years, it's been a drip feed of various unitary arrangements, with government after government failing to grasp the nettle and take the decision once and for all to reorganise local government in England and devolve power to the regions. Now, I'm the last person to commend Margaret Thatcher, but when Ken Livingstone and the Labour-dominated Metropolitan County Councils were a thorn in her side, they were abolished. And the irony is that 40 years on, those metropolitan unitaries coming out of it are in a far stronger position than we are in the shires, where many areas feel left behind and are still waiting for any signs of levelling up. So here we are again, in the midst of a shambolic process where 15 councils, who can agree little, if anything, between them, are being invited to submit proposals for how many unitaries the county should have. What we are basically being asked to do is to vote for what size cart we want to put before the horse. We have no idea of how these unitaries will be structured, where the centres of administration will be, importantly, how many elected members they will have, how residents will be served without them being remote, what staffing structures will be required, and most importantly, how they will be funded, given the draining resources of social care dumped onto local government, along with the ever-increasing costs and demands. We don't have any concrete proposals to enable any meaningful debate to take place. Elected mayors, it would appear, are not up for debate, but increased devolved powers, such as local control of public transport, are not on offer without one. Our natural instincts as Liberal Democrats is to have government as close to the people with as much public participation as possible. So if a 4 unitary proposal delivers the smallest viable and functioning local authority, then we may be persuaded. However, we are not prepared to blindly walk into a new arrangement without knowing what it is or what it entails. Governments are elected to govern in a representative democracy and should get on with it. Present us with proposals with some meat on the bones and we will happily debate the merits or otherwise. But as it stands, we are turkeys being asked to vote for Christmas and they invariably end up being stuffed. Mr. Mayor, the devil is in the detail, and given the complete lack of any, we will be abstaining.
Thank you. Councillor Flannery.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Howarth. I don't disagree with a lot of what you said, but the reality is the governments have said we need to do something. And if we don't do something, we will genuinely be left behind. If we all abstain and said we haven't got a position, it will be imposed on us. So we have to take, and as a responsible electorate who represent the residents from all our wards, we have to take some leadership in this. It's not ideal. There's going to be, I'll tell you what is going to be, there's going to be 2 things which are certain: an elected mayor, and there's going to be less councillors. That is for certain. But the government have made this decision and we have to respond to it. Not responding is not an option unless you just want something imposed. But I take your point and do a fair point as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Jackie Alty.
Thank you, Mayor. For the opportunity to speak this evening. It's, as you say, it's a mixed bag at the moment. My first real engagement with the LGR process began when I was elected as council leader last year. I entered the process looking to gather leaders with an open mind for a progressive discussion. It soon became apparent that this was a process happening around us, with or without us. But let me begin by acknowledging an important reality. The scope of our influence in shaping the ultimate structure of any reorganisation is limited. That doesn't mean we should sit passively by. Quite the opposite. We must engage actively to ensure that the voices of our residents, our businesses, and our communities are not just heard but considered. To achieve this, we as elected representatives must engage. It's also important that we remain pragmatic. I've read residents' comments, like yourself, I went to look back, and from 1974, indicating they didn't want South Ribble Borough Council. Some felt they would lose their community identity. I've also read comments from the reorganisation didn't go far enough. So many diverse views, and how are we to reconcile them? Decisions of this scale are rarely straightforward. There are competing interests, differing visions, and varying levels of information. It is essential that we approach this not with fixed positions, but with open minds, flexibility, and a focus on seeking the best possible outcomes. Stating a preference is not just an option, it's our duty as elected representatives. And this is the requirement of the government. If we fail to engage, we fail to represent those who elected us. We must also be honest about the fact that the data available to us is incomplete. The evidence, while informative, is not definitive, and that's another reason why for us this is about shaping preferences and not final decisions. We need to be engaged in identifying the opportunities that could benefit our residents, whether through improved services, stronger local economies, or more accountable governance, while also safeguarding what matters most to South Ribble. Different areas will naturally have different priorities, and our task is to navigate that diversity with respect, curiosity, and a commitment to dialogue. We should not abdicate our responsibility as elected members. It's our duty to drive forward any discussion and refuse to be passive, riding the wave created by the opinions of others. My preference has been clearly stated some months ago. I didn't see any value in being a passenger, and I still don't. Ultimately, our focus remains clear, securing the best outcomes for the people of South Ribble, while playing our part in ensuring that any future structure works for the wider Lancashire community. And we need to influence where we can, adapt where we must, and always lead with the interests of our residents at heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members wishing to speak? Are there any members of the public wishing to speak? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you look at the history of our area, Leyland, Pemberton, the centre of our interest has always been in Preston. Historically, the whole of this area has not looked to Chorley, but has looked to Preston. And frankly, if we adopt a solution which does not include Preston, well, really, we're performing Hamlet without the Prince of Denmark. So I do urge you to take an option which does include Preston as one of the local authorities. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public? Councillor Phil Smith, I'm afraid we've moved on from members of the council.
As a matter of explanation, we're not quite clear at the moment whether there's actually going to be a proposal from over there If there is, obviously we will be speaking either for or against that, and obviously we will be putting an amendment.
There's a proposal in the council papers which has been seconded and duly debated by councillors, and we've moved on to members of the public, to my understanding. The proposal is outlined in pages 53 to 62 of the council agenda. There's a report in the council agenda, Councillor Smith. There's a report in the council paper, the recommendations of the councils, and that the council note the likely process for the development of proposals for local government reorganisation on page 53, and that council determines that if local government reorganisation occurs, whether it prefers a 4-unitary model, including a unitary council covering the boroughs of South Ribble, Chorley and West Lancashire, or a 3-unitary model, including a unitary council covering the boroughs of South Ribble, Chorley, West Lancashire and Preston. They are the recommendations in the report on page 53. Councillor Howarth.
I know I've already spoken and you should tell me I can't speak again.
I'll allow you.
But just as a point of clarification, there isn't a proposal. It's an either or, and nobody's proposed which one we're voting for.
Let me just speak to the monitor. Spare me a moment. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to say to all council members now, if anyone is planning on moving an amendment, you are to do so now. If not, the report will be voted on as written, however bizarre that is in the report, as per the published report. So if you are moving an amendment, Councillor King.
Just to clarify, I only have a for, against or abstain button. What is it that you're actually asking me to vote for? And what is it that you're asking to vote against?
I will ask for clarification from the mover of the report, Councillor Flannery.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for reading out the recommendation, which I did refer to when I first stood up. But I thought the leader of the council reserved the right to speak where he was going to propose. Yes, thank you.
He did, however, he didn't indicate to come back to speak at the end of the debate. However, please, Councillor Tomlinson.
I always said when I took over as leader that we wouldn't be one of the councils that were just led into this by the leader. Some councils in Lancashire, they haven't had a debate. They've not been given the chance to debate. Their leader has said. I have to say, you know, we are now the only council, apart from the county council, that has not expressed an opinion. So even those who were originally reticent, Ribble Valley, Fylde, Wyre, have all now expressed publicly what they would like to see happen if local government reorganisation happens. And I fully accept Councillor Howarth's healthy cynicism about the past. But we are not saying, what we are not saying tonight is we are campaigning to abolish South Ribble. I noticed his leaflet said Safe South Ribble, his old leaflet. And I, you know, I'm being a member of this council for 26 years, incredibly proud of what we do. And at no stage have I advocated to get rid of South Ribble. And I think I want to say that absolutely clearly. In private or in public, I have never said, let's get rid of South Ribble. Similarly, 20 years on the county council, and I never said it would be a good idea to get rid of the county council. That being said, the democratically elected government of the day has made it clear that two-tier government right across England will be ended by the end of this parliament. And some of the historic counties, such as Surrey and Essex, are well ahead of us on this journey. They've accepted it. They've already put forward proposals. Now, again, with Councillor Howarth, I have some sympathy. I rather wish the government had just come up to Lancashire and said, the current system that you've got, we don't think it's working, and this is what's going to happen. And we could have all just got on and made that work. The government has decided they want to consult. They want to consult widely. And I guess, as a point of principle, we'd support that. As part of those consultations, they are asking the councils of Lancashire to come up with some preferred options. And as Councillor Flannery said, and by the way, I do want to publicly thank him. It's a new role. We're the only council in Lancashire to have a lead member for local government reorganisation and devolution, a job I'm convinced is going to carry on long after tonight. But he's done a lot of work. We had a member briefing in here for which everybody could attend. As far as I remember, there were not a single Conservative member came to that briefing. You have your own reasons for doing that. I know that Councillor Flannery's offered to meet with the leader or the group. Again, that hasn't happened. I know there was a last minute request yesterday, but again, that has not happened. We went to the briefing. We've had 2 or 3 group meetings to discuss this. I was keen that we came tonight to have a debate. It's clear to me that the single unitary, I don't think anybody in here would want a single unitary for Lancashire, and it doesn't meet the criteria. There are some people calling for that. And similarly, a 2 unitary, there are some voices saying, well, that seems to work, but no one's saying whether they want to split the county north to south or east to west or diagonally. No one's come up with a workable plan. There are what seem to be sensible discussions going around a 3 unitary or a 4 unitary options. And all of the councils by 2 who have declared have said that they are either in the 3 unitary or the 4 unitary option. The 2 who've declared something else have said they want a 5 unitary, which would make us around between 200 and 250,000, which to my mind is not going anywhere. And frankly, I can say it because it's public. It's Pendle and Burnley who've said it. And Burnley have actually gone public and minuted the fact that they want 5 unitaries because they don't want to be with Blackburn. Now, the geography and the numbers kind of say to me, I'm sorry to my friends in Burnley, whatever this looks like in the end, you will be with Blackburn, and it's up to them to make it work. So I didn't feel it sensible to bring forward the 1, the 2 and the 5, but I thought we could have a debate on a 3 or a 4. And clearly we're not going to have that debate because there's been no contributions supporting either a 3 or a 4 from anyone other than in this group. So just to sum up, we're not campaigning to get rid of South Ribble. Should the government, I don't think the government's going to stop. A new bill went through Parliament last week, the English Devolution Enabling Act. And for those of you who follow those things, I'm not sure whether you know that, but that is the next step. And by the end of this Parliament, we won't be here. We will not be here by the end of this Parliament. And the government, out of a courtesy and to consult, has said to us, if this happens, what would you like us to look like? Now, if we don't say anything, if we say we don't want to engage in that debate, and then Jim McMahon, the MP, comes down and says, well, what I've decided to do, because you didn't say anything, I've looked at the map and Chorley, South Ribble, Chorley, Blackburn and Hyndburn are all co-terminus across the middle of Lancashire. And presumably you have no problem with that because you haven't said what you're for. If he says, no, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put you all the way up to Lancaster, again, you have no problem with that because you haven't said what you want and what you don't want. So I think we have to decide tonight what we want. And so you've had the chance to debate. It's been declined. Councillor Flannery gave everybody the opportunity to speak about the 2 sensible options. It's my group's view that if we are going down this path, and it's still an if we are going on this path, we think that the best fit for us is a 4 unitary model, which would put us with Chorley and West Lancs. There's lots of demographic reasons why you would do that. We're very similar communities. We've got a lovely natural boundary at the north, which is the River Ribble, and there's a lot to commend that to it. But all it is it's a response to a consultation. It's not a decision. It's not us pinning our flag to a mast and saying we'll die on this hill. We've been asked for an opinion, and we on behalf of our residents, are prepared to express our opinion. So
I was asking
would you like me to
I've been very
formally
generous with
propose?
my time.
Would you like me to formally propose that the council votes to say that if local government reorganisation is to happen, then this council would prefer a 4 unitary model for Lancashire?
Is that your amendment, Councillor Tomlinson? Thank you. Is that amendment seconded?
Seconded.
Okay. Okay, we have an amendment, and that's an amendment that, as Councillor Tomlinson has just been proposed. I will now open that up to debate from any members of the council. Councillor Karen Walton.
An amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have also produced an amendment tonight, so we would like to speak on that as well.
Of course. It's my understanding we need to deal with this amendment first. Is there any members of the council who wish to speak on this amendment? Okay, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this amendment? No? Okay, we'll move to the vote on the amendment. If the vote passes, this will become the substantive motion. If it fails, the substantive motion will remain as is. And then obviously I'll hear from you, Councillor Walton. Okay, so we're now taking a vote on the amendment to become the substantive motion. Okay, that has passed. So that now is a substantive motion as per the report, with the alteration that this council prefers a 4 unitary model. Is that correct? Thank you. Okay, that is now the substantive motion. Councillor Howarth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was only going to question how you can have an amendment to a motion that didn't propose anything in the first place. You can't take a vote on a report that says, well, we're in favour of both a 3 and a 4 unitary solution, and then take an amendment to it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Thank you, Councillor Howarth. It's only my first proper council meeting. You have to bear with me. I know we've just taken that, but Councillor Tomlinson, can you be very clear to the exact wording of what your recommendations are, and then we will go from there?
I thought it was very brief, and I meant it to be brief, that if local government reorganisation is to happen, that this council's preferred option is for a 4 unitary model for Lancashire. It's 1, maybe 2 lines.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been asked to speak. The amendment has been voted on and now becomes the extant motion before the council.
Councillor George Rea.
This is just an observation, and I don't have anything like the constitutional knowledge that Councillor Green, Councillor Howarth have, but this is very, very odd, and I can't put it any further than that. Almost it seems deliberately that this has been set out to confuse members. That is my opinion. Speaking as somebody who is very much open-minded about local government reorganisation and would like to have supported something tonight, this surely is not the way that we should be doing business. And I'll leave it at that. It's a statement, but yeah, that's my view.
Okay, if people are genuinely confused about it, I suggest we have a 5-minute adjournment and the leader puts it in writing exactly what the recommendations he is proposing for. Can I ask members to start taking the seats again, please? Thank you. Can I ask members once again to please take their seats? Thank you. Thank you for that. Can I please bring in the Leader of the Council, Councillor Matthew Tomlinson?
I just reassure members that the chance to have a debate was something that I genuinely wanted. I said so right at the beginning when I became leader. I wanted to be a leader who is collegiate and collaborative, and I really did want us to have an open debate about the two most likely options for local government reform, for us to decide which of the two we would prefer. Clearly, that's not going to happen because some people don't want to engage in that debate, and that is their prerogative. I thought the amendment was so simple I didn't need to write it down. You've now got it in writing. You can see how it is an amendment of the original proposition that came to council. I think I've said all I need to say, and I'm happy to move that amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Tomlinson. Okay, for clarity, I have taken advice for clarity. Now the amendment is in writing and is more clear, I will take a vote on that. Councillor Green, point of order.
In the most bizarre council debate I've ever seen in 22 years in this council chamber, we've now got to a stage where we're now considering for the second time an amendment which has been proposed by Councillor Tomlinson, who actually seconded the original motion, I believe, then within 5 minutes changes his mind and moves an amendment, and it's not been seconded. And yet we're being asked to vote on an amendment which hasn't been seconded, over and above all the rest of the rather flawed debates that we've had this evening.
I assumed the original amendment was seconded by Councillor Belinsky-Gelder, and that still stands.
Seconded again.
I'm not taking any further debate on this. The debate has finished. We will then move to the vote.
Can we just check?
Yeah, can I just confirm, are there any points of order? Any further points of order? Is it a point of order, Councillor Smith?
Thank you. The debate it has been proposed and seconded. We accept that. Now it's been proposed and seconded and become an amendment. We are able to speak against that before we vote on it. Thank you.
Councillor Forshaw, do you have a point of order as well? Councillor Green, do you have a point of order?
And I do wish to speak as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll make a ruling under item 22 of the standing orders. As this has now been articulated clearly, and there was clearly some confusion with members before, which I accept, I will allow a debate on this item. Are there any members of the council wishing to speak? Councillor Forshaw, I believe you want to speak, but your microphone's not working. Is that correct?
Oh, it is now. So, I rise to speak strongly against the proposal to abolish South Ribble Borough Council, which is... Sorry, did you?
In front of me, an amendment to abolish South Ribble Council. The leader has already said explicitly, I do not want to abolish South Ribble Council.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Forshaw, there is no amendment to abolish South Ribble Council. Please continue.
I've not finished, so I'll carry on.
Thank you, Councillor Forshaw.
Indicating a merger with Chorley and West Lancashire councils is abolishing South Ribble Borough Council. No, don't interrupt me. Do not.
Councillor Forshaw, could you sit down a moment, please? Councillor Forshaw.
We are not campaigning and do not want to abolish South Ribble.
Could I ask Councillor Forshaw to sit down, please? Thank you. Is this a point of order? Is this a point of order?
Is it a point of order?
A point. It's not a point of order. Personal clarification. I deliberately, because I've guessed at what might come from certain quarters, deliberately expressed my opinion and my wish. I am not campaigning, and I've never said anywhere, even in meetings with the minister that I've been lucky enough to have, I have never said I want to see the end of South Ribble Borough Council. And should the government decide they're not going to go ahead with this, I'll be just as happy as anyone.
Thank you, Councillor Tomlinson. You've made your point. Councillor Forshaw, please continue, but bear in mind the comments which have been made. Thank you.
What I was going to say, and I'll carry on, is without a mandate from the public. Let's be absolutely clear, no political party stood on a manifesto in 2023 calling, and I'll reword it so it fits in with Councillor Tomlinson's narrative, against the non-abolition of this council. There's no mandate, there's no public consent, there's no democratic basis for such a drastic change. It isn't just a proposed technical reorganisation, it's dismantling of the council, which is a fact, and the ability of residents to have a direct say on how their area is governed. And that should never happen without the public being fully consulted, either through a clear yes/no referendum or a statutory consultation. To impose this from above is unacceptable, and yet the National Labour Party has already made it clear that even if there was a hypothetical referendum, Labour ministers would simply ignore the result. That's not democracy, that's dictatorship by Whitehall. Are you okay, Councillor Tomlinson? You look a bit... No? Okay.
Councillor Forshaw, can I please remind you what we said at the beginning regarding respect and courtesy towards other members, please?
Well, I am. It did not very well. Now we hear that the whole proposal would actually cost more to run, which is a fact. This merged super council than the status quo. Let it sink in, £10 million more, in fact, off the figures I've seen, for less local say, more bureaucracy and a weaker voice for South Ribble. And so I ask, has the South Ribble Labour Group even looked at these figures, or are they once again simply doing what they're told from above? regardless of what's best for South Ribble and the people they were elected to represent. If the merger does go ahead, South Ribble taxpayers will end up footing the bill. Some bill of around £180 million of combined debt of Chorley and West Lancs, paying interest and repayments on borrowing we never signed up for. I'll carry on. Projects like the redevelopment of Chorley Town Centre, while many of our own urban centres like Gloucester and Bamber Bridge are neglected. And what happens to our share of resources? In any larger authority, areas like Skelmersdale are bound to become the focus. South Ribble risks being left behind, a forgotten corner of a council where decisions are made further away by people who may not even know our communities. So let's be honest, it's not a good deal for South Ribble. It's expensive, undemocratic and probably not wanted. If Labour truly believes it's right, then have the confidence to put it to the public, make the case openly, campaign for it, but crucially respect the result. Until then, I urge every member of the council to stand up for South Ribble, as the leader seems to want to, reject any attempt to scrap our council, and without a clear and informed mandate from the public.
Thank you. Can I once again request all members to please consider courtesy and respect for other members and no personal comments against other members? Thank you. Are there any other members wishing to speak? Councillor Karen Walton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, change of plan. I was going to speak on our amendment tonight, but we're not being allowed to have a vote or a say on our amendment. So tonight we are being asked.
Oh, we're not. Councillor Walton, no. What's happening is, so obviously we're debating the amendment now. Because obviously there wasn't clarity. I've used my judgment. Right, we're debating the amendment. As soon as we move to the vote, this will become the substantive. And if you have an amendment, that will be your opportunity to then put that forward. Thank you. It has for me as well. Councillor Green.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, we gather today not just to debate lines on a map, but to look at the art of defending our local democracy. The current proposal to replace the two-tier system of county and district councils with sweeping unitary structures is both deeply flawed and fundamentally undemocratic. What concerns me is, as Councillor Forshaw has set out, there is no mandate for this. No mandate for this at a South Ribble level, no mandate for this at a county council level, and indeed no mandate in the general election last year when Labour swept to power, but this was not included in the pledges. What this presents is a threat to accountability of democracy, a loss of local representation. As we know, district councils are very valuable in many ways. They are the level of local government which are close to the people. They care for our bins, for our parks, environmental health, so many services, planning, which we all place great value on as councillors. And these services rely on local councillors who know the local community, not councillors coming from Skelmersdale, Chorley or beyond. This represents an erosion of local identity. People cherish their local areas, and we risk alienating our communities and weakening civic bonds, which I think it's fair to say we probably all believe are really important to us. And you may look at financial benefits, and the government may look at those, and there may be some financial benefits. But what about the one-off costs? What about the redundancies? What about the system integration? What about the office moves? Millions of pounds that will be spent to put all this into place. Previous reforms elsewhere have showed limited savings, and districts have warned that combining services could drain neighbourhood budgets, not enhance them. But there is no consensus for this across Lancashire. Councillor Thomason has set out a number of ideas which have come forward from some of our neighbouring councils, and there is no consensus for various reasons, some of them historic, some of them because of practical reasons, etc. Rushing through plans, which the government seems hell-bent on doing, with tight deadlines, risks overlooking local needs, with risks of sleepwalking into reorganisations. And we undermine the trust of the electors, which put us here. We stand for election on the basis of being trusted by our communities. And we've seen recently when elections were cancelled in May in other counties in the county, when people have kicked back against that, and in polls, the majority of people have said that they wish that elections had taken place rather than being delayed. That's democracy. We sometimes don't like the outcomes of elections, as we know, to our own cost. But that is democracy in action, and that's what should take place. There is public scepticism about local government reorganisation. People saying that they're not switched on. I don't think many people in South Ribble or beyond that actually know what this is all about. And it's incumbent on us to inform them and then seek their views before we proceed with this. If the public of South Ribble instructs us, yes, that's what we want to do, fine. We are elected to carry out their wishes, but we are not in that place at the moment, and that is one of my key concerns. Reform, to me, feels like a top-down project, not led by the community, which we are all elected to serve, and which I believe is the right and proper way. So in conclusion, we share a desire, Mr Mayor, to improve our local services and strengthen governance. But democracy is not improved by removing the local voice. Real reform starts with listening, not imposing. It starts with consultation, not with cancellation. Let's protect our democratic roots, our councillors, our neighbourhoods, our elections, while seeking smarter devolution that truly benefits our local community. I urge colleagues to reject the top-down reorganisation which is trying to be imposed by the Labour government without a mandate, that we should insist on transparency, on input from the local communities and genuine renewal of those communities. Let's build a system that serves the community and the residents of South Ribble, not one that replaces South Ribble. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Are there any other members of the council? Councillor Belinsky-Gelder.
This is summing up though.
All right.
Okay, there are people before you. Councillor Flannery.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Forshaw, Councillor Green, and other councillors. I just wanted to make sort of the penultimate statement for us of Councillor Belinsky-Gelder is going to sum up. This is not a perfect thing. If someone said to you today, do you want to stop this? Do you want to stop this process? Or someone telling you what's going to happen? We'd probably all say we're quite happy at South Ribble running our administration, representing the residents of South Ribble. And we all do it because we're all volunteers, volunteering our time to represent every side of the council chamber. You've just made a big statement there, Councillor Green. And I'm listening to you and thinking, well, you're probably right on that, and you're probably not right on that. Devolution is a Tory idea. And it's worked in other areas in terms of the mayoral situation, which I think there is consensus. Everyone I've spoke to as the lead member wants the mayor. When I speak to the business community, they have a different emphasis. You're right, they don't see the boundaries which we see, but that's what politics is. And that's what I'm saying in terms of what I tried to set out before. Listen, I do apologise to some councillors because I met a couple of the councillors over there before if it wasn't that clear. But the intention from the lead and myself was, let's have an open discussion. There's no one fixed right way here, but we've got to represent the people who elected us in the best way and fair way. And as Councillor Green just said, if they're not up to speed with it, then we've got to make a decision to say, okay, look, the caveat is we can always come back to this when other data comes in. I've committed to say to you, if other information comes in which changes this, I will be right back to all of you. I also, in terms of what Councillor Forshaw said about the costings, you're right. The costings haven't fully been done, but the timetable has been set. And Holly Walmsley's been absolutely fantastic. And the officers are working behind the scenes to get the information together. So what we've got to do tonight, and I'm sorry for imposing myself one more time on you, is we have to lead. We have to make a decision. The government, whether you like it or not, whether it's Labour, whether it's Tory, the government have said you need to make a decision, because if you don't make a decision, you're going to get left behind. And all we're saying tonight was, look, we've had a debate. Let me be honest with you, we don't all agree, but it's democracy. We've to talk about ourselves and what do we think, and we go with that. And that's what I was urging you all to do tonight. So with respect, you know, and please, that commitment I've got for you to work with you going on from tonight is, please just do what you think's right. But we think is right is what we've proposed here. And I'm sorry for any confusion, but that's where we're at. So I appreciate all your comments, but the reality is we have to make a decision tonight. If not, or the people you represent go, why didn't you make a decision? Because you're going to get left behind. And we don't want to be left behind. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to invite Councillor Belinsky-Gelder to sum up, and then we'll take a vote on the amendment to see if it becomes a substantive motion or not.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I feel like everything's been said, but I do feel like I want to say what I want to say, because I have made South Ribble my home, and it's been my home for 45 years. I've grown up in Muchhool and I've brought my children up in Leyland. I'm passionate about South Ribble, and that's why I'm stood here as a deputy leader, and I want what's best for South Ribble. However, as has been said, the government is asking us what we think would be best for South Ribble. The status quo isn't an option, so we have to put our proposal forward. I'm happy, on behalf of the people that I represent, to participate in that consultation. It doesn't mean that I want South Ribble to go, but it also is not satisfactory for us to not send our proposals in for all the reasons that have been said. Councillor Howarth is right, the detail isn't there. The government has started this consultation by asking us what we want. So I don't know how Councillor Forshaw can say it's going to cost us more and we're going to have less democracy if we don't have all the detail yet. Those two things are contradicting each other. From my point of view as well, I attended the Chief Executive's briefing on this and there wasn't a single Conservative councillor there. So I would ask, where did the Conservative group get that information from to make those statements this evening? Councillor Green was part of a Lancashire County Council cabinet when they introduced a county combined authority which wasn't consulted on, which didn't have a referendum. I do think that if there is to be a referendum, South Ribble isn't the best place to have that referendum. We can't ask West Lancs and Chorley what they think about it. We can't ask the rest of Lancashire. Lancashire County Council is the best place for that referendum to come from. But I will, and I make this my word, continue as this progresses to watch what is happening, what the government is offering, and I continue to act in this way and keep an eye on what's going on. If the government decide not to reorganise, as my colleagues have said, I will be more than happy to continue the administration at South Ribble Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Green, unless it's a point of order or personal point of clarity.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just very briefly, it's not my place to defend the county council anymore, but Councillor Bolinski-Gelder made the point about not consulting on the combined county authority. That is not true. A significant consultation was carried out with residents and businesses right across Lancashire, and I'm sure Councillor Howarth will be able to point you towards that if you needed that information.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Okay, we've come to the debate on the amendment. Just to be absolutely clear, I will read out on page 53 of the report, paragraph 3 will be removed and replaced by the wording that council determines that if local government reorganisation occurs, it prefers a 4 unitary model, including a unitary council covering the boroughs of South Ribble, Chorley and West Lancashire. I will now take a vote on the amendment. If the amendment passes, this will become the substantive motion. Thank you. That has passed. Okay, we are now debating the substantive motion. Are there any councillors who wish to speak? Councillor Karen Walton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Conservative group wish to produce an amendment tonight.
Thank you.
Substantive.
Okay, there is an amendment from the Conservative group. I'm assuming you proposed that, Councillor Walton.
Yes, I'm proposing it.
Thank you. Okay, that is now being handed out to councillors. Can we just wait till it's handed out? Thank you.
Yeah. It came. I'll just say I will second that and apologise to the council beforehand because we did send the email through with the but it somehow got lost in the system and it didn't get there. So we kindly asked Darren and the Chief Executive to facilitate it. Thank you.
Not a problem, Councillor Smith. We do have some issues with our IT system, it would appear. Councillor Tomlinson, is this?
Thank you. You're very kind. I thought our IT system was the envy of Lancashire.
Is this a?
It's a rather lengthy amendment, and I think it's just a courtesy to give us the chance to have a read, seeing as we're only just seeing it now. And could I ask you to give us 5 or 10 minutes for my group to consider it?
It's now 19:37. The council will start promptly at 19:50. 12 minutes. Thank you. Can you all take a seat, please? Thank you. I hope everybody's had enough time to read the amendment that has been proposed by Councillor Walton and seconded by Councillor Smith. I'll now move back to the proposer, Councillor Walton. Thank you.
Do you want me to read the amendment out, or is there?
There's no need unless anybody.
Okay, well, I reserve the
specifically.
speak later.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Is it open for debate now?
Is it open for debate now?
Yeah, the proposer's not able to reserve the right to speak. The seconder can, so Councillor Smith can if he chooses to in a
so
moment.
I'll make.
Please continue. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, so I'll do it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the clarification. So tonight we're being asked as elected members to determine that if local government reorganisation occurs, the preference of this council for the future of South Ribble Borough Council. The Labour government has set a timetable for this procedure and production of initial proposals for local government reorganisation with a deadline at the end of November. A letter was sent to Jim McMillan MP, Minister of State for Local Government on the 21st of March, signed by all the council leaders in Lancashire, but without any debate or vote in South Ribble, setting out there was a lack of consensus in one single proposal for reorganisation going forward in Lancashire. The amendment presented tonight asks us, that the Labour group have presented tonight, asks us to vote for one preferred option for the future South Ribble Borough Council without providing a comprehensive analysis of all viable alternatives, including the current structure, to provide a genuine comparison. No detailed financial analysis has been provided to assess the potential economic impact on this council, local services, businesses and council taxpayers. There has been no clear evidence presented to demonstrate how the preferred option would improve outcomes and services for our residents. Reorganisation of local government in any form will have a significant impact on the communities we all serve. If the goal of reorganisation is better services, stronger governance and a greater efficiencies, why have other preferred options not been considered? Local government is about empowering local communities, but the process of reorganisation is being driven by the government preferences and not the needs of local communities. This undermines public trust, not just in this process, but in democracy itself. We are not against change, we are against a bad process. We are being told that this is the only preference going forward, especially when services could become more centralised and communities feeling more distracted, more distant from decisions that affect them most. A local referendum is essential to ensure democratic legitimacy and gain genuine support for any proposed changes to local government in a meaningful and inclusive way to see the benefits, risks of all the viable options available. The preference proposed tonight have been developed without any support from our communities. Staff and local businesses and residents need to be presented with clear and accountable information so they can have a democratic vote on the future South Ribble Borough Council and how reorganisation could affect local services, representation and council accountability. This amendment, the Conservative group has recommended tonight, seeks to present an alternative preference, which would still retain the present district councils as they are in the best place to reach and support our residents and the diverse communities we serve, but with a far greater range of services delivered very well as we are doing now. The top tier, possibly county council or by another name, would be responsible for the more strategic county-wide services, as they are best placed to do so, such as adult social care, special educational needs, public health, social service, integrated transport and so on. Any proposed preferences must be supported by a clear mandate from the residents of South Ribble by a referendum where residents can vote on their preferred options for the reorganisation of local government and the future of South Ribble Borough Council where they all live. And I recommend the amendment to council.
Thank you, Councillor Walton. Councillor Phil Smith, can I just clarify for absolute clarity that you still wish to reserve the right to speak later and not now?
No, I don't wish to speak later, Mr. Mayor. As I told you before, somebody stood on my glasses and I can't see a thing at the moment, which is probably quite useful. And for the sake of brevity, I think the meeting might end a bit sooner. But nevertheless, as far as I can see, Councillor Walton has now wound up, so I'm not quite sure where it goes from here.
Councillor Walton has proposed the motion. Obviously, you've seconded it and made your comments now. I'll now open the amendment for debate by members. Any members wishing to speak on the new amendment? Councillor Tomlinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, some members over there said they were confused before. I would suggest that some of us are a bit more confused now. We've voted to say that this council prefers the 4 unitary option if local government reorganisation is to happen. And then we get this obviously pre-prepared amendment. I could argue all night long with the monitoring officer whether it's a legitimate amendment or not, but I'm not going to do that because for me it's a brand new motion for us to consider. That being said, in the form they're presenting it, they're not proposing taking out that council determines that if local government reorganisation occurs, it prefers a 4 unitary model. There's nowhere in here that says take that out of what we're already voting for. So even if this passed, it would still include the lines, this council determines that if local government reorganisation occurs, it prefers a 4 unitary model, because an amendment must take out things as well as put things in. And you're not suggesting we take that out. There's a real danger, you know, Mr. Mayor, in coming to a debate with a pre-prepared plan and not having the flexibility to move when circumstances change, because you've got yourself in a place now where you're proposing something that presumably you're going to vote for that says this council determines that if local government reorganisation occurs, it prefers a 4 unitary model. And that's what you're now suggesting. So that's on you, not on us. That being said, Mr. Mayor, I think many of us have had a lot to say. I don't think there's anything new to be added, and I move that we now move to the vote.
In the interest of fairness, Councillor Howarth indicated to speak. I will allow him to speak. and then we will clarify and move to the vote.
Well, I'll try and be brief, as Councillor Tomlinson obviously wants to get home. So, but a point on all 3 of these proposals. I mean, first and foremost, they're asking us in point 1 of the amendment to vote for something we've just already voted for, because the 4 unitary solution would include South Ribble, Chorley and West Lancs, and not Preston. So why are you asking us to do something we've already done? Why are we being asked to vote for what the Conservative group prefers? It's the council that's taking the decision here. I'm not think we're really interested in what the Conservative group prefers. And finally, the most fundamental point here as to why we're going to vote against this. This is a representative democracy. You are elected. You're not delegates to a conference. You're representatives. You are elected to go away and find out all of the information, and Councillor Flannery has done his best to provide it for you, find out all of the information and take an informed decision on behalf of your residents. It's not for you to pass the buck to your residents and ask them to take an informed decision when, as I've already pointed out, and I think it has been agreed, we don't have all that information anyway. And who is this referendum for? Is it just for people in South Ribble? Is it for people in South Ribble, Chorley and West Lancs? Is it for the whole of the county? Who's it for? And if it is for the whole of the county, are you now just the echo chamber of Reform UK? Because we already know it's going to cost £2.5 million to the council taxpayers of this county to hold a referendum, which is non-binding and still will be non-binding on the basis of what you're proposing here. This amendment is total and utter nonsense, and we will be voting against.
Thank you, Councillor Howarth. I'll be moving straight to the vote, and we are voting on the amendment as presented in front of you on the piece of paper we've all been given. I'll move straight to the vote. Thank you. Okay, thank you. That amendment has been lost. We return to the substantive motion. Can I please ask at this stage, are there any further amendments to be proposed? And if there are, please propose them now. No. Okay, we will open the debate again. Councillor Lomax.
Sorry, I pressed the wrong button during the vote and will take myself in hand later. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further members of the council? Thank you. Are there any further members of the council wishing to? Councillor Rea.
This is, I suppose, questions we've voted on what we've voted on, regardless of if we think it was perhaps the best way of doing it. So these are two questions of opinion for Councillor Tomlinson. We've said we would prefer, if it's forced upon us as a council, a model without Preston. Would he agree with me that if a council like that came into being, it should be called South Ribble Council? And would he agree with me that that council, if it were to come into being, should be based in this building here in Leyland, not, as some West Lancashire, some of his colleagues in the Labour Party in West Lancashire are pushing for, a brand new building in Skelmersdale?
Thank you, Councillor Rea. Councillor Tomlinson, do you wish to answer those questions?
I think it'd be wonderful if it was called South Ribble, because we will be a council south of the Ribble, and we have got the most up-to-date, accessible, modern council chamber in all three councils. I believe it's fairly public knowledge. West Lancs are trying to get out of their building, and Chorley's building, whilst it's effective, it's certainly not as modern and accessible as our new council chamber will be very, very shortly. So if those two things were to come to pass, I will be absolutely supportive of both.
Thank you. Are there any further councillors wishing to make comment or ask any questions? Councillor Michael Green.
Thank you, Mayor. I think when I read the report, the original report, it set out, I think, at paragraph 29, that the proposals would make public services more efficient and more accessible to our residents. I would argue that that is fundamentally flawed as an argument. On the contrary, the unitary authority being proposed would result in less efficient services and will be less accessible than our current district councils, both in South Ribble and in the other constituent councils of West Lancs and Chorley. I do not agree that the proposed unitary authority will be of sufficient size to be financially sustainable. And anything that is being proposed, which means there is less money to provide services for residents, is something that we should fight against, in my view, because we must deliver better services with better outcomes for the residents, both of South Ribble and across the county as a whole. So I don't think the argument being put forward, the proposal on the table, does that in any way, shape or form. And I think the government has set out, again, in the report, I think it's referred to in paragraph 19, that unitary authorities must prioritise the delivery of high quality and sustainable public services. I think the proposals before us this evening put that at significant risk. And I don't, on that basis, I don't feel able to support this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Green. I'm going to move to questions from members of the public now. Are there any members of the public wish to raise any questions or comments? No? Okay, can we move to the vote, please? Okay, thank you. That has been carried. Moving on to item number 14, notice of motion. Can I please ask Councillor Matthew Forshaw to present and to propose his notice of motion?
Thank you, Mayor. So it brings me great pleasure to bring this notice of motion to council. And it is brief, so I will read it out for the benefit of members of the public. So it says that council notes that public trust on clear standards, transparent decisions and open governance The Nolan Principles define how those in public office should behave, which is with integrity, accountability and openness. This council believes that this council is fully accountable to the public it serves. We must lead by example and demonstrate in practice that we take that accountability seriously. Ethical standards, transparency and public engagement must be strengthened, not assumed. And basically what we're voting on is, as a council, we will conduct ourselves in full openness, ensuring all decisions, actions and information are accessible and explained clearly to the public. To reaffirm full commitment to the Nolan Principles with annual mandatory training for all councillors and senior officers. Require the timely publication of all decisions, reports and supporting information in accessible format. The Chief Executive is instructed to report to full council in 3 months with proposals to implement these commitments in full. Progress will be reviewed annually and published. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Sorry about that.
Speak
I'm pleased to support Councillor Forshaw and second this motion. But in doing so, I have a few things that I'd like to add. The Nolan Principles, so that's integrity, accountability, transparency, honesty, respect for others, objectivity and openness. They're not just aspirational ideals. They are principles that are underpinned by law through legislation, such as the Localism Act 2011, the Public Interest Disclosure Act of 1998, the Bribery Act of 2010, the Freedom of Information Act 2000, the Data Protection Act of 2018, and the Equality Act of 2010. Other relevant frameworks and codes that support these principles include the Civil Service Code, as well as the Ministerial Code. But that's not relevant to us, that's for government ministers. And the Nolan Report itself from 1995. It's not law, but foundational in setting ethical expectations in public life. So we, as elected members, are legally and morally bound to uphold the highest standards in public life. Supporting this motion affirms our commitment to these principles and will hopefully reinforce the trust that the residents of South Ribble must have, and I repeat, must have, in our conduct as public servants, as their elected representatives. We work daily to serve them within our wards and at this council. So I move to second this.
Thank you, Councillor Burrows. I'll move to questions or comments from members of the council. Councillor Matthew Tomlinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I couldn't agree more, Councillor Burrows. Couldn't agree more. But we do have an amendment that we think strengthens it, and I'd like Darren to hand that round now.
Thank you. There is an amendment being handed out. Councillor Tomlinson, while that's being handed out, can I ask if that is seconded? Yeah, I'll come back to Councillor Tomlinson speaking yourself shortly. Thank you. Councillor Tomlinson, can I just confirm for clarity that your amendments are the ones in the orange/brown text? Thank you. Thank you. That's been handed out to all councillors. Councillor Tomlinson, can I now ask you to introduce your amendment, please?
Relatively short and I think to the point. Absolutely, we support the comments. We support the sentiments of the notice of motion and fully support the comments of Councillor Burrows, who we think spoke really well on it. I think I'm really proud of the way this council has conducted itself over the years, not just while we've been running the council, but when the Conservatives were running the council. We all had disagreements about how we went about business, but I've never known a serious threat of allegations of bribery or corruption in this council in the 25 years, not once. I'm proud to say that on this side of the chamber, there's not a single member in my group who has been before the Standards Committee and found guilty of transgressing the Nolan Principles. And that's something we are proud of, because whatever the Nolan Principles said, whatever the Code of Conduct says, we encourage our members to behave in a way that is full of decorum and decency. And if I'm leading from the front, that is what I expect from my group too. I don't know of another council that prints the Nolan Principles at the front of every agenda to remind members of their responsibilities. And I would also point out to members that even before this notice of motion came, there's a training session next Monday on the Code of Conduct for members. And I presume now, then when we all vote for this, we'll all be here for the training session next Monday. Now, the reason that I put these amendments in, and I think they're really important, it's really important to say that whilst we think we should do the right thing and we must do the right thing, it's important to point out we already have a process to deal with members who we think aren't doing the right things. We have a monitoring officer and a standards committee and a complaints procedure. And I would urge anybody who thinks a member has acted in contravention of the Nolan Principles or the Code of Conduct to take advantage of that process. Like many of you here, I'm on social media and I see so often that, oh yeah, the brown envelopes are out again. I respond to all of those. It's easy to ignore it and think, oh, it's just the usual. I respond to all of those and I say, if you have evidence of bribery and corruption or brown envelopes, it is your responsibility to go to the police. Now, I'm not aware that anyone ever has done, because I've never been asked about those allegations. It's just an easy thing to say, an easy allegation to make. And I would ask all members to respect the fact we have a recognised procedure for dealing with complaints against members. So that's why that amendment is there. My second one is just a bit of pedantry, and I apologise for it. But in the original motion, it said end, and clearly the word should be and. So I've just changed it for clarity. The other amendment, we can't release all information as much as we would like. How many times have we heard Councillor Foster, Councillor Alty as leader, and myself, when we go into closed session, to say, it's a shame we have to do this, we're going to have to turn off the YouTube channel, but we're going to discuss things that are commercially sensitive, and it's not appropriate for that to be discussed in public. So that's why I put the word all permissible. But it is all permissible. Anything that can be released, that can be shared, we would share it, and we have no reason to do so. And then the other one really is about political leadership, because the Standards Committee regime at the moment is very lax in its ability to punish members who do transgress. Before Mr. Pickles was the local government minister, standards committees could find people guilty of transgressing the Code of Conduct and could suspend members from council for up to 3 months. And I was here when a councillor was suspended, wasn't allowed to attend meetings, wasn't paid any allowances, wasn't allowed to access their email account because of a transgression of the Code of Conduct. Obviously a serious one. But at the moment, standards committees don't get that. They can ask members to apologise, and I know they've had to do that to members not in my group. But basically, that is it. So it becomes really important then that the political leaders get behind the Nolan Principles, get behind, and encourage their group to behave appropriately. And if and when the Standards Committee makes a judgment that the political leaders of all three groups sign up to say we will support the work of the Standards Committee and its independent members. So if a Standards Committee reports and says we find a member has transgressed the code of conduct and we've asked them to carry out this, then the political leaders of groups should get behind that decision and should do so publicly. Because otherwise, you know, we get into a state where the temptation is not to support transgressors who are in your group because it might be awkward. We must be above that. We must be above that. And so my notice of motion requires group leaders to publicly support the work of the Standards Committee and moreover to support its recommendations for further action. I don't think there's anything there that any of us would disagree with. It merely strengthens and reinforces some of the things that Councillor Forshaw put forward in his original notice of motion. So I hope we can debate this amendment now, and then I do hope Council will vote for it.
Thank you, Councillor Tomlinson. It's already been indicated by Councillor Farnworth that he seconded that motion and reserves the right to speak. Are there any other members of the Council who wish to make comment or ask any questions? Councillor Forshaw, can I ask if you're willing to accept the amendment?
It's a friendly amendment. It's my amendment, and I want it to be minuted as my amendment. And sorry, I apologise to people who haven't been here that long. If I put forward a friendly amendment, then it stays with the person who proposed it. But this is my
Thank you, Councillor Tomlinson. Are there any members wishing to speak on this amendment? Councillor Matthew Forshaw, this is on the amendment.
I'll speak at the end. Can I speak at the end?
No, Councillor Farnworth will be summing up. If you wish to speak, please, you can speak.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you've done it the way you've done it, and that's fine. But the thing is, standards in this building are really important. There's people out there with serious perception issues in this council with different things. So yeah. So I put this forward as a bit of a putting to bed people's fears out there, and they can look at it as a one of the council that to show we take standards serious. So, sorry, did you have something to say, Councillor Roberts? No. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Are there any other members wishing to speak before I invite Councillor Farnworth? Councillor Forshaw, you've already spoken. Could you turn your microphone on? Thank you. If any other members wish to speak before I invite Councillor Farnworth to sum up, Councillor Howarth.
Approved. It then becomes a substantive, and we then have the ability to speak on the substantive.
That is correct.
Thank you. I'll sit down.
I'm going to invite Councillor Farnworth to sum up the amendment, and then we'll move to the vote to decide whether this can become the substantive or not. Councillor Farnworth.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to second the amendment. And as a councillor, I believe that personally, and including everyone here, that we meet the standards that align with the Northern Principles and the Codes of Conduct. The Standards Committee and the principles are there for a reason, and we should respect that, each and every one of us. It's a fundamental basic of being a public servant, being a decent person for this borough and the residents I was elected to represent. We may disagree with each other politically, but we should never seek to be disrespectful of integrity, accountability and openness with each other. I'd also like to remind fellow members that this council offers a lot of training that does align with the Northern Principles that are described within the amendment and the original motion. So I'd like to always encourage people of all political parties in this room to attend these sessions. Like Councillor Tomlinson said, there is a standards training session this coming Monday. I also believe that this council has an open standards procedure and a standards committee who all take their role incredibly seriously. So I'd like to hope that all members have the fundamental basics of being decent and working with the standards committee on such matters. So I'm more than happy to second this and support the amendment, as I truly believe that it will make it more relevant to us at Safe Ribble as we represent all our residents.
Thank you. I'm now going to move to the vote on the amendment. If it passes, it will become substantive, and then we open the floor again. Please indicate using your buttons. Thank you. That has carried. That is now the substantive motion. I will now open the debate to members of the council once again. Councillor Howarth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to be quite as complimentary as the leader because I really am bemused as to why this motion is in front of us at all, given that anyone has recourse to the standards regime should they feel that there is a concern over a member's behaviour or that they are in breach of the code of conduct. I suspect it has more to do with a spat between individual members than any overriding concern that there is a low threshold of standards amongst the general council membership, and it's a throwback to the old standards board, which was a mischief maker's charter. It's almost insulting that it's being suggested that the vast majority of members of this council somehow don't uphold the standards of the Nolan Principles. That it's come from the Conservative group is somewhat audacious, given the history of your members cocking a snook at the decisions and recommendations of the Standards Committee and a blatant disregard of requests to offer an apology, which has been met by the sentiment of "you will be waiting a long time." And so I find myself sitting between pots and kettles, given that a former leadership of this council didn't see fit to suspend a member under police investigation, and in a display of double standards, given that they would have demanded to know why if it had been a member of the opposition. I do, however, commend Councillor Alty, because when she took over as leader of the council, one of the first things she did was promote the Nolan Principles and have them included in the body of agendas, and I thank you for that. And whilst we are not prepared to be lectured on the Nolan Principles by either the Conservatives or Labour, and we abide by them without any need for annual compulsory training, because it is how decent human beings behave, which is the vast majority of us, we will support the motion and the amendment, because why would we not? The council's time, however, would have been far better spent in not playing these petty political games.
Thank you, Councillor Howarth. Councillor Wesley Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the second time this evening, I've actually agreed with Councillor Howarth on a lot of things. He made an early comment and then a lot of his speech there. I'd like to formally propose that we move to the vote.
Is that seconded? Okay, I'm happy to move straight to the vote. Thank you. Thank you. That is unanimous. Moving on to item number 15, questions to the Leader of the Council. Are there any questions from members of the Council? Councillor Walton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, in the light of the debate that we've just had, perhaps this is quite pertinent of me to ask this question of the Leader. In the light of an email you forwarded to some officers and Labour councillors and myself on the 16th of June, which included a personal email from a resident to Mr. Lee Forshaw, I would like to ask the following questions. Why did you choose to circulate a personal email sent by?
Well, Councillor Walton, will you just sit down for 2 moments? Could you please state your point of order, please?
Just to say that we've clearly just voted on the process, and we've just said that there is a process for standards in this building and that it should be reported to that way if there is an issue with any conduct of any member in this council. And Councillor Walton has just voted for that. And now she stands up to raise something that should be raised in standards if necessary, which in my opinion is not necessary.
Thank you. Councillor Walton, there is a robust standards procedure. If you do have any individual complaints regarding members, please use. However, you may continue with the rest of your questions. Thank you.
So my question is, why didn't you respond to an email I sent you on the 23rd of June? And on the 2nd of July, I emailed you again for a response. And the response you emailed me was, I didn't respond because, frankly, I didn't think it was a constructive use of mine or your time. So there is a background to this. Do you consider your actions before sending a personal email, not addressed to you, a misuse of information, making unfounded allegations against a fellow councillor without due process of consent?
Councillor Walton, could I just ask for 2 moments just to have a seat, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, we've already spoken about the code of conduct and the complaints mechanism for councillors making complaints about issues involving other councillors. It's important that those matters remain within the purview of the complaints process. Then the investigation under the code of conduct, if necessary, in an investigation by an officer, and if further required, a consideration and a decision by the Standards Committee. These matters are not suitable or appropriate for discussion at this meeting, and they are dealt with by a totally separate process.
Thank you for that clarification. Thank you. Are there any other questions for the leaders of the council? Leader of the council? No? Are there any questions from members of the public? Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. My question is, and I think you've all had a written sort of question, but I'll read it out. Would the leader of the council agree with me that the purpose of South Ribble Council officers and members are to serve the residents of South Ribble in a fair and even-handed way? So, the epic marathon journey began in September 2023. My brother's neighbour has ignored any planning regulations and built a garden fence that looks like Fort Apache, built a large garden room with a pizza oven and flue, loft conversion with no building regs followed, installation of 2 commercial air conditioning units, plus AstroTurf laid in the front garden, which in turn Lancashire Fire Brigade and Rescue were unable to locate a hydrant. They immediately served him with an enforcement notice and removed the AstroTurf near the hydrant. My brother, on the 4th of September 2023, contacted South Ribble enforcement team and they asked him to keep a log, which he did. He sent the log back on the 20th of November 2023. Many weeks passed and little or no contact from the enforcement team or South Ribble Council. On the 7th of August 2024, the environmental health people stated the owners need to provide an impact statement and a noise assessment for the air conditioning units at their own expense and send it to the council. This has never happened. I advised my brother to contact his local councillor, who came to see the problem on the 13th of August 2024 and was shocked at the state of the property opposite my brother. He took notes and photographs of the problem. This was the last my brother saw or heard from him, despite my brother copying him to all future correspondence. I rang in April 2025 the leader of his party to get him to contact my brother. On the 16th of October 2024, a retrospective planning permission was refused by South Ribble Council for all the above items. Still, this painful journey continues. The Director of Property and Planning stated all matters would be resolved by the 31st of May 2025, but the problems still occur. No action's been seen. My brother, who's been a mental health nurse for over 40 years for the NHS, has been suffering with this situation. You can't sleep at night, the air conditioning, the banging of this fence. Both members of council and officers have badly let him down. It is now affecting his physical and mental health. He's now seen the doctor. He was in Chorley Hospital the other day under the medical assessment unit for 4 hours. Will the leader of the council meet with myself and Brock to resolve this situation? Let's give us that. These are copies of the letters. My brother tends to do everything the old-fashioned way, but these are letters that he sent to the council. The enforcement team never return phone calls. There's when he goes in the council offices, the civic centre.
Mr. Lennon, could I ask you to get to your question, please? Thank you.
The question was, Mr. Mayor, is will the leader of the council meet with me and my brother to resolve this matter? That's what we want.
Thank you. Councillor Tomlinson.
So I thank Mr. Lennon for his question, which he sent me, but only today. So I'm really, I've managed to do the very, very briefest of light touch investigations. And much of what he said is true. The planning, retrospective plan application was turned down. I understand we have visited the site on numerous occasions. I do have to say that I wish this had just come as an email. You can contact your council at any time. Clearly, some are better at engaging with residents than others. I presume it's not a member of our group that you feel has let you down, because I've certainly never been contacted by you before on this. I lead a team, so I am the leader, but I'll say this and I'll say it as often as I like, but I am a collaborative and collegiate leader. I've spoken already to Councillor Sharples, who is the head of planning for us, and I'm sure that he'll be happy to meet to discuss this with you. It has to come from his department. But as I said before, we have the opportunity for people to come and ask questions at full council. It's a very unusual opportunity. Doesn't happen at many councils, but something like this, I would much prefer you written or emailed me, a week, 2 weeks ago, and we could have been on with it. But we'll contact you again after tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Tomlinson. And Mr. Lennon.
But the follow-on question, this was sent, but a few days ago, right? The enforcement team are an embarrassment to this council.
Mr. Lennon, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Just for clarity, Councillor Forshaw indicated to speak during members of the council. However, for some reason, his microphone's not coming through on my display, so it was missed by me, but was picked up prior to Mr. Lennon speaking. So I will move back and allow Councillor Forshaw only to speak before I continue with any other members of the public.
Thank you, Mayor, for your indulgence. So, Councillor Tomlinson circulated an email to his Labour group. I don't want any advice or any interruptions.
Councillor Forshaw, please sit down. Please sit down. Thank you. We've clearly heard a lot this evening on respect and civility within this council chamber. Councillor Walton asked very similar questions and was given advice that there is a robust standards procedure and complaints process in place. If you have an issue with regards to an ongoing investigation or a complaint relating to Councillor Tomlinson, I would suggest you use the appropriate procedure and not discuss it at this council meeting. If you wish to ask a question which isn't pertaining to that, please do so.
I sent an email to Councillor Tomlinson on the 17th of June and he hasn't responded to it. So I won't read it out, I'll swear in the decency. Will he respond to it, please?
Thank you. Councillor Tomlinson, will you respond to his email?
I haven't done, and it's quite deliberate. I received several emails, 2 from Conservative members and 1 from the members of the public, with several allegations in about me. And as I said to the Conservative council leader when she emailed me a second time, frankly, I don't think it's a constructive use of my time or theirs to get involved in a tit-for-tat argument via email. There is a robust and clear path for people who want to make complaints about councillors, and I recommend them to make use of it.
Thank you. I'll move back to members of the public. Are there any further members? Sorry.
Supplementary.
I'm not allowing it. Any members of the public? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name's Baz Howard. I live in the Farrington East ward. Some months ago, our ward councillors put out on public media about Farrington Park. I'm glad to know that it's got a green flag, but I'm bewildered why it's got one, because the pond at the bottom end, I don't know if you've been around there lately, but it's an health hazard. My question is to Councillor Wesley Roberts. Is there any movement on the promises by the ward councillors that it's going to be sorted?
Thank you. This is questions to the leader. I'll let the leader respond, and then I'll ask Councillor Roberts to respond at his time as well. Is that okay? Thank you. Thank you. The leader, would you like to respond to that as well?
Thank you. And, you know, the member of the public may be bewildered as to why Farrington Park's got a green flag. The fact is that people come and judge it against some set criteria, and we're delighted that it's got a green flag, and I hope the whole council are too. Can I just say respectfully to the member of the public, he raised the word health hazard. If you think the pond's a health hazard, please don't wait till a full council meeting. No, I'm replying. Please don't wait to there's a council meeting. We've had people come, councillors saying there's a health and safety concern at this meeting. That's not what this arena is for. If there are health concerns or health and safety issues, they should be reported as soon as someone becomes aware of it, and not waiting until they come to a full council meeting.
Thank you. I'm happy to take one follow-up or supplementary question. Yes, thank you.
What I would say there is the ward councillors, if they've any sense, will know it's an health. No, I don't. Right, I'll tell it. Right, if they've seen it, if I fell in there, I think I'd take myself off to A&E. It's that bad. Please, before you say anything, please go and have a look. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. As the ward councillor, Councillor Alty, just for clarity, I am as well, but I'll allow you to reply on our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I did receive information. Yes, I did go and see it. Yes, I have raised it with our officers. And because of the way that nature and seasons work, the work is scheduled at a time when it will least disturb the natural elements. And it has been in the pipeline. As soon as we get further down this year, the work is already planned and it's ready to take place. We are in danger of dismantling nests and a lot of other bits and pieces because of the way nature works. So I do take a little bit of exception, as though I've not gone to see it and I've not inspected it, I've not taken it seriously. So thank you for raising it. Anytime you want to send me an email, I'll happily act on it. But that is the truth of the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Alty. Okay, moving on to item number 16, questions to Cabinet members. I will take these in order. The Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Communities and Housing, Councillor Aniela Belinsky-Gelder. Are there any questions from members of the Council? No. Are there any questions from members of the public? Okay, thank you. Moving on to the Cabinet Member for Finance and Assets, Councillor Wesley Roberts. Are there any questions from members of the Council? Councillor Angela Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Will the Cabinet Member please inform me as to how this Council determines its charges for the elections it holds on behalf of outside bodies, such as the County Council, Police and Crime Commissioner, Parish and Town Councils, and any referenda? Could he further direct me to where these fees and charges are clearly published in a policy document or on the Council website? And finally, could he also advise me as to when these fees and charges were approved by the Cabinet and reported back to full Council?
Thank you. Councillor Roberts, you're quite popular tonight, so I'll allow you to answer one at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Turner for her advance notice of the question. In terms of the responsibility of who pays for what election, it's the body that holds the election that's responsible. So South Ribble are responsible for their costs of the election, Lancashire County Council are responsible for theirs, the UK government are responsible for parliamentary and police crime commissioner elections. Technically, parish councils and town councils are responsible for the cost of their elections. Now, as a gesture of goodwill, a convention at South Ribble, because all our elections take place at the same time as parish and town councils, we actually absorb that cost as a gesture of goodwill to the sector and all the good work they do. Now, there is a different arrangement for by-elections. In terms of the part 2 and 3 of her question, I'm happy to provide more details. In short, it's quite tricky, and it's not something that's published in the sense of a formality. And part of that is because the costs of elections vary depending on what type of election it is, the price of postage, the price to print things, the price of staffing, etc., etc. There is quite a long list, and I'd be happy to share more detail with her on that if that'd be helpful.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your response. I'd just like to make you aware of the fact that the reason why I've brought this, the reason why I asked this question is because it has been brought to my attention just recently that an invoice has been issued to a local parish council by this authority without a corresponding customer order number or reference to any formal agreement. This is a concern in itself, as I would have thought the procedures would not allow the release of an invoice without some sort of contracting vehicle in place. This makes it vulnerable to fraud. However, it was a complete surprise, and this is the essence of what I need you to be aware of as to what's happened. It was a complete surprise when the parish council representative received this invoice from the authority. No phone call, no email, in fact, no discussion took place at all. One total value appeared on the invoice of £10,700 with no breakdown to facilitate transparency of costs, thereby permitting any understanding of what these costs were for. The invoice was headed Howicombe Priory by-election. That's a by-election that took place over 10 months ago prior to receipt of the invoice. No corresponding signature or stamp authority was on the invoice. I thought this would also be needed to approve release. Can we take it then that I believe that this is poor governance to leave a third-party organisation in this way, sending them an invoice for the reasons I've given, no notice, no breakdown of a £10,700 charge, which isn't acceptable. I believe that there should be some procedures put in place going forward to avoid these circumstances having happened. And I'd just like to draw your attention to a number of authorities.
Apologies for interrupting. Could I ask you to move to the question, please? Thank you.
The question is, based on what I've told you about the circumstances of this invoice, the way it was issued, the way there was no detail, the way there was no warning, the way it was done 10 months after the services of this council have been provided, I'd like you to address this, as I see this as a governance failing. And what would you intend to do to put in place going forward to avoid these circumstances happening again to any other parish, town, or any other by-election that takes place? Because it's clear that there are recharges to parishes, but the preparation, the communication, and any fair warning of invoices coming through is just non-existent. Thank you.
Thank you, and apologies for interrupting you. Councillor Roberts.
It's all right when you take questions. You actually don't have to press the button to speak. Listen, I'll take the question in the spirit it was offered, and whilst I don't think there's any potential fraud or governance issues, the Democrat Service Lead and the Chief of Finance are here, and I'll pick that up with them separately. But at the minute, I don't think that is an issue. In terms of collaborative working, I'll follow the first bit first. So in terms of by-elections, South Ribble Council cannot predict when there will be a by-election. So we don't, in our costings, account for any costs of by-elections. And as town councils and parish councils are responsible for funding their own elections, if we don't make any account for our by-elections, it's up to the organisation to make their accounts for it. So therefore, they are liable for the costs of the by-election. It didn't fall within the 4-yearly cycle of all outs. It happened at the same time as the police and crime commissioners. So that's for the town council. Now, I appreciate no one wants a shock of getting an invoice just flagging up on the door for a huge amount. I'd like to think, as in the spirit of this organisation we are, that we always try to improve, we always try to give people full notice and collaborate with our partners. If that's not been done on this occasion, I'd apologise, but I will look into it and see whether that has happened. I'll leave it there, but say to Councillor Turner and any other member of the council, if they want to speak to me inside or outside the council, my email address or phone number is on the website.
Thank you. Councillor Michael Green.
Thank you, Mayor. Turning to a very different issue, Councillor Roberts. As you'll be aware, our council is currently consulting on a proposal to make changes to the path running through Nixon Lane Wood in Moss Side Ward between Ullswalton Lane and Nixon Lane. Consultation runs to the end of this month, and there was a public meeting held on the 24th of June with council officers, local residents and local ward councillors. It was very well attended, as I'm sure you will have been briefed by officers subsequently, as there are some strong views regarding the proposal. Local residents asked on that evening how the decision would be taken and by whom, and they were assured that this fell within your portfolio, and it will be for you to determine whether you take the decision individually as a cabinet member or whether it's taken at a cabinet or a council meeting. Given the significant level of public interest in this matter and the importance of ensuring that there's full transparency in the decision-making process, would you confirm that you would agree to take the decision in a meeting held in public, please?
Thank you. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Councillor Green. I'm actually meeting the Bridleway Association tomorrow morning, so they're going to give me a bit of an update and insight, and I'll also offer out to the kind of opposing side of it if they'd like to meet with me. Unfortunately, I couldn't make the consultation on the 24th due to childcare arrangements, so I didn't think it was the right environment to bring my 11-month-old into. But I did hear it was well attended. It was a bit heated at times and potentially a bit unfair to officers. There was mentions of brown envelopes, which is just not acceptable, and our officers shouldn't have to put up with that. Now, I know Nixon Woods quite well, and we've already had over 400 responses to the formal consultation. So it is something we're going to look at diligently and make sure that everyone feels listened to. In terms of the specifics of how the decision will be taken, I'm not going to confirm that now. Once we've had the consultation responses, we'll present a way forward. But I will commit to consulting, or not consulting, but I'll admit to giving you advance warning of how we're going to take that decision.
Thank you. Of course, Councillor Green.
Thank you. Thank you for that response. Yes, it was a somewhat heated meeting at the time. I think it got off to a bad start, if I can be brutally honest, and the trust with the community was lost as a result of that. But the officers who spoke on the evening did so very professionally and can be commended. So if the Chief Executive can take that back, please, because it's always nice to give some positive feedback to officers as well. But they say it's a contentious issue, and it's one that the public, as I say, lost some trust in South Ribble Council as a whole. That's officers and members. And I think it would really go a long way to restoring that trust if we can be seen to be taking the decision in the right way, having due regard to all the evidence and all the arguments, whether for or against, and what we can do as a council. But it will go some way if that decision is made in an open and transparent way in a public meeting where people can actually attend and see what the discussion is, etc. So I would urge you, Councillor Roberts, to take that away and send confirmation via myself in due course that you are going to proceed on that basis, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Joan Burrows.
Thank you. I do hope that you are the right cabinet member for this question. My question is with regard to the planned upgrade of the Kingsfold trading area. So that's within the Middleford ward. At full council meetings on 2 occasions, I've asked questions regarding the Kingsfold and the Middleford trading areas and the upgrade. So the leader, now our former leader, responded via emails. So I was informed in January that the allocations, the financial allocations for the work were Middlefirth 305,000 and Kingsfold 650,000. Then in March, I was informed that Middlefirth was 350,000 and Kingsfold 580,000. So that's differences of 45,000 and 70,000 respectively. I was also informed by officers that work will commence in Kingsfold this month, July. So I've recently been approached.
Councillor Burrows, could I ask you to move to the question, please?
Yes, sorry, this is just a little bit of background. So just another paragraph, if you'll bear with me. So I've recently been approached by a proprietor of one of the businesses. It's a very popular shop, trading 5 days a week. And he's telling me that none of the traders are aware of the upgrade. And given that a number of them have things on display outside the businesses, they need to know so that they can make alternative arrangements. I mean, this particular shopkeeper said he might go on holiday for a few weeks while the work's being done. So to move on quickly, I'll move on very quickly. My 4 questions. So one is, what is the correct allocation of finance for the upgrades? Bearing in mind that I think there's 3.6 million in the budget for the Penwortham Master Plan overall. The second question, is July still the date for the proposed site works to commence in Kingsfold trading area? Question 3, will adequate notice be given to businesses prior to commencement of the works? Because as yet, they don't even know any work is going to go on at all. And that allows them to make changes to their trading hours or businesses. And question 4, does the council plan to hold a meeting with the business owners to keep them informed and updated? So that's the 4 questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do look forward to discussing the Constitution at the next meeting. I think it'd be great if people to submit questions ahead of time. And this is not directed at you, Councillor Burrows. It was a diligent question. We're ultimately committed to the Penwortham Master Plan. I was struggling to hear at the beginning, and there is a vast amount of detail in there, but I will look back at it, I'll speak to officers, and someone will get back to you. I think it's technically a major project, so it's the leader's portfolio, but someone will get back to you.
Thank you. Councillor David Howarth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry to have to bring you back to fees and charges, but could I ask first of all, and it's not a question to yourself, it's a question to somebody who might be able to give me the answer. That question was a written question submitted in advance. I'm not aware that that question's been circulated to anybody apart from yourself. I certainly haven't seen it published in the agenda for the meeting, even though questions from members of the public were.
I've just received clarity. It wasn't received in time, Councillor Howarth.
But the meeting started at 6 o'clock. In time for what?
Is that okay? Are you happy for him to make a personal point on that specific question?
Can do.
Thank you.
So if I was misunderstood in my northern accent and quick pace, I was basically saying out loud that it would be nice if people did submit questions ahead of time, like Councillor Turner did previously, and I look forward to discussing that at the Constitution debate at the next council.
Councillor Howarth, apologies.
That wasn't the point I was making. Councillor Turner did submit a written question, this morning, and it's usually procedure that that question is circulated to the whole of the council so they can have advance notice of it. Anyway, the fact it wasn't, so now I'm to read it off a phone because none of us have got a copy of it. But can I just bring you back to the fees and charges? Because I don't think you really answered the question. You said that we don't know when a by-election will be. You said that the charging is very complicated. Well, it doesn't seem to be very complicated for North Yorkshire. It's not very complicated for Somerset. It's not very complicated for Chester West and Chester Council. They all have by-election recharges to council's policy. Now, we have a booklet setting out every fee and charge that this council makes, with the exception of by-election recharges to parishes. How is any town or parish supposed to budget for a potential by-election, which, like you, they don't know when it's going to be or whether it's going to occur, if they've absolutely no idea what those fees and charges are going to be.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts.
It's a fair point, isn't it? I think ultimately, parish and town councils are responsible for the cost of their elections. But I think, in fairness to what Councillor Powers has raised, if other councils have got a clear policy, it's probably a piece of work that we need to look at, and I'll commit to doing that.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to questions from members of the public for Councillor Roberts. Are there any members of the public wishing to raise any questions? No, very quickly move on to Cabinet Member for Customer and Digital, Councillor Jackie Alty. Are there any questions from members of the Council? Councillor Forshaw.
Thank you, Mayor. So I emailed Councillor Alty on the 4th of July with an issue that a resident was having, but unfortunately I haven't had a reply as yet. So basically she had an issue with refuse collections, which I emailed Councillor Unsworth on, but it was mainly about contacting the council with her issue for refuse collections. And because I haven't had a response yet to give her back, she's now asked me to ask you a question, if that's all right. So she's saying, how are residents, particularly the elderly, computer illiterate or with general cognitive difficulties, expected to contact the council when an intelligent literate resident has failed to do so?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Alty.
Thank you for your question. The phone which was included in the original complaint, I will just to give some context, I was in Spain on the 4th. I have come back and I have been catching up with my emails, so I apologise, but I was aware that Councillor Unsworth had acted on the email. Having said that, the telephone lines do work. We have repeatedly tested them, and I think you, in a conversation with somebody else this week, one of our councillors acknowledged that the telephone system does work, so people can get in touch with us. I mean, I struggle with the phone because I'm quite deaf, and I also need to see faces and lips move in order to get a full appreciation. So I appreciate that it was difficult on this time, but we have checked the phone lines do work, and we've also sent information via the systems on the website just to test them out. I apologise for the obvious failure at that particular point, and I can't explain it at this moment. Other than a glitch, I spent 10 minutes, 23 seconds on the phone this morning trying to speak to somebody not here at a GP surgery. So my apologies, and I will contact residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this a follow-up or supplementary relating to the question you just asked, Councillor Forshaw? Thank you. You may continue with your follow-up question.
So just as a point of clarification, the Cabinet member I did speak to about the phone lines. I've only contacted Gateway 3 times while I've been an elected member because I like to see what service the residents get. And although the call might have been answered within 20 minutes, I did acknowledge I've never had any issues. Some residents do. And some residents might think it is unacceptable to wait 20 minutes to get through to somebody. And when they're trying to fill online forms in, and I've had it where it times out and there's errors, it's not.
Could I just ask you to get to your question, please?
Can the Cabinet member look into it, because it's not good enough, and it seems to be a recurring issue now that residents are struggling to get in touch with the council, and I know we can do better. So if there's just some reassurance that you could come back at a later date with some improvements, that'd be great.
Thank you, Councillor Alty.
Thank you, and I do appreciate your confidence that we can do better. We can all always do better, and I will endeavour to ensure that that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? No? Okay, moving on to the Cabinet Member for Economic Growth and Planning, Councillor Colin Sharples. Are there any questions from members of the council? Are there any questions from members of the public? Okay, moving on to the Cabinet Member for Culture and Social Justice, Councillor Matthew Farnworth. Are there any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? No. Okay, moving on to the Cabinet Member for Leisure, Health and Wellbeing, Councillor Claire Hunter. Councillor George Rea.
Thank you. I'll try and keep this one a relatively quick question, and I apologise to the Cabinet Member that I haven't forwarded this to you by email. I've only recently received this from a resident in my ward who's got some concerns about the refurbishment of the leisure centre. He's asked me to read it out. I will try and read out as digested a version as I can. So my resident was initially contacted on the 29th of April, advising that the pool will be closed the following week and reopen on the 6th of June. He's now had several further emails that this has been delayed and extended and so forth. The meat and drink of the question is he has been advised that payments would still be collected, albeit with some reductions. And since the 1st of May for 3 children, he has paid a total of £169.53 for nothing, essentially. His question is, and you might be able to answer this in vague terms, and then if we can work in a bit more detail on precise terms for this resident, does the council have a plan and a procedure in place to recompense people who have been potentially having direct debits taken away from them without being able to access the facilities? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hunter.
Yeah, in answer to that, sorry, am I on? In answer to that, we are looking into this, but we have kept, the reason we're closing different leisure centres at different times is if you've got membership, we've closed Leyland, you can go use Pemberton, you can go use Bamber Bridge. So we're not actually looking at refunding the money because we are offering facilities. But if somebody has got a problem, I would like them to get in touch with me. That's all I can say. But our leisure centres are ongoing. As you know, Leyland should be open on the 19th. We've gone further than expected with disability and all inclusive. I've pushed it for as much as we can do. Bamber Bridge is ongoing. Obviously, when Leyland is back open, Bamber Bridge will be shut. And this is why we're looking that we are offering other facilities. So, but anything else, just give me an email and I'll look into it.
Thank you. Any further questions for Councillor Hunter? Any questions from members of the public? No. Last but not least, Cabinet Member for Environment and Street Scene, Councillor Kath Unsworth. Are there any questions from members of the council? And finally, are there any questions from members of the public? Mr. Lennon, there has been a question received in advance from you. Is that correct? Okay, you've got 36 seconds left to speak in your 5 minutes.
Right, I've sent 2 questions for you and both about environmental. Can you sort of answer what we're going to do to improve the recycling rate in different parts of Southwark?
Thank you. Am I okay to answer both questions?
Yes, of course, thank you.
I've had them in writing. Thank you for your questions. The first one is about a spillage of sludge. Yeah. And I appreciate the time that you took to report it and in cleaning it up, helping to clean it up. So thank you for that. It's not the level of service we aim to provide, and I want to assure you that we do take these matters seriously. The liquid residue occurs when garden waste compacted into the vehicles. All the trucks are fitted with drip trays to contain it, but in this instance, we identified a mechanical issue that meant that there was leakage. So what we did, as soon as it was discovered, it was taken out of use and taken for repair. We also arranged for additional street cleaning, but you'd already done your part, but in the areas. All our vehicles undergo regular scheduled maintenance and daily safety checks. So when issues like this occur, we'll continue to act immediately, as we did in this case, by taking the vehicle off the road. But thank you for raising this important issue.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from any other members of the public? Oh, sorry, my apologies.
Just to highlight, you were wondering why our recycling rates weren't as high as they could be and as high as Stockport. Thanks again for raising that issue. South Ribble borough councils responsible for waste collection, while Lancashire County Council handles the waste processing. Consequently, South Ribble's recycling rates are influenced by Lancashire County Council's recycling practices. This arrangement highlights the complexities of a two-tier local government system that we were discussing earlier. Currently, our collection rate is 42%, which is the highest in Lancashire. Nevertheless, I share your concerns about our performance. There has been a slight decrease, and that's a trend against many councils, which we're trying to find out what they are. And we've realised that the reduction, all recycling is done in tonnage. And there's been a reduction in weight of our recycling. We think this is partly due to the positive environmental developments such as lighter packaging and the increase of refillable containers, which reduce waste and affect the recycling tonnage. For example, you might have noticed your milk containers now are thinner plastic than they used to be, as are Coke and pop bottles. They're thinner than they used to be. They're softer. Yeah. Other ones are available. Amazon has been pledged to reduce their packaging by switching to paper bags, and some are now delivered in their original packaging. I get a thing of cat food that just has the address straight on the outside. It used to come in a big box. So we are getting positive action from businesses to reduce it. However, we do recognise that we can still improve, and our improvement plan includes increasing weekly food collections. Sorry, I've got feedback in my own ears. From 2026, which will increase our recycling rates, implementing new national simpler recycling standards to provide clearer guidance. We're launching a new waste strategy this year, which enhanced services and education programme, and we're expanding our school engagement through the Eco Town initiative, working alongside Lancashire County Council. We currently lag behind Stockport, as you point out, mainly due to their food collection, waste collection. They already do that, and soon we'll benefit from the same. I hope this helps to reassure you that we remain committed to making South Ribble a leader in sustainable waste management, and will continue to work with our residents to achieve this.
Thank you for your answer. Thank you everyone for your patience this evening. The next meeting of the council will be Wednesday, the 24th of September 2025. I've got no further urgent business. I declare the meeting closed.